Welcome back. Jason, I want to ask you about hay handling tools, but before we do, I had a personal question. You know, we had a lot of moisture and a lot of rain this summer up in our country, and frankly, had to rake hay more often than we'd like. What would you tell us relative to the hay raking tools that John Deere offers?
Well, that's a very good question. That's one I think a lot of producers have that very same question, so I'm glad you brought that up. We have a very wide range of rakes. We start out at what's considered a carded rake. Okay. That's the WR10 or the WR30 series for those that might be familiar. That's a very simple, basic, light crop rake for a smaller producer. Then we get on up into high capacity rakes, which are 10, 16, up to 18 wheels. We have overhead frame rakes. That's moving even more crop. So you talked about having a lot of rain. We can move a lot of crop together. We can also vary our working width and our windrow width from the tractor cab. So there's a lot of great things and offerings that we have for those. And even, we talk square balers.
Sure.
We have some rotary rakes, and those do a great job of raking crop very gently, leaving a perfect windrow for that square bale for your cow or your horse, whatever that may be.
That's great. Well, let's assume now that we've gotten the hay up, all right, and now it's time to get it fed. What would you tell us relative to some hay handling tools that you all offer?
Well, we can start just as basic as your simple bale spear.
Sure.
And we have the single tine. Then we also have dual bale spears, large square bale spears, bale grapple for your small square bales, if you want to move them like that. Bale unrollers, 3-point bale spears. It's a very wide range. We just introduced some bale carriers.
Okay.
And there's two models. One can carry up to 4 bales. The other one carries up to 8.
Really?
Hydraulic arm, pull it behind the tractor. You load, haul, and dump. Never get out of the tractor seat.
These are all Frontier?
All Frontier. All
Gotcha.
Frontier bale carriers.
Jim, what would you offer relative to some considerations that we should keep in mind when we're selecting some bale handling and, for that matter, feeding equipment?
Well, you always want to consider the size of the package you're moving to match, that chore, how far you need to move it. If you're only moving at short distances, a smaller tractor can handle that job.
Sure.
But if you start to move at any distance, you may need a more stout, more heavier unit, because you're going to try to go from point A to B at a higher speed. And you want to always be safe and under control. You don't want to be losing that. You also don't want to knock that bale apart. You did a great job so far. You got it all rolled up. Every time you move it, you don't want to destroy that package, because you may not feed it for another 10, 12 months or so.
You bet.
So having the right tool to keep the integrity of the package is going to be key. If you're using a grapple, I always get this question, usually at the farm show. Well, how do I keep from tearing that net? One thing you can do is take just a piece of tubing, and where each grapple tooth would come down, bore a little hole, and then have a welded chain and use like a chain binder.
Really?
And keep that, and it's sort of a solid bar, and then when your grapple comes down, it won't engage into the bale and tear that net off.
Gotcha.
So that's a simple way to protect that investment in net and not make you forced to stick with twine, because now I can take that efficiency factor of the net attachment and the net wrap to protect my feed, and I don't destroy it.
We've spent a lot of time talking about hay equipment, but we're loading other feed, we're pushing up manure, we're cleaning corrals and so forth. What considerations would you offer relative to some loaders and blades and other attachments that you all offer?
Well, we have everything from root and debris grapples to move, brush or manure, anything like that. We all have that to deal with.
That's right.
We also have some blades that we offer, both loader-mounted blades and then also rear blades, box blades, drawn box scrapers. The list just goes on and on when you really start to look at it.
Rex, what would you add?
Well, with our wider range of tractors that we've got now, it's the perfect solution to match up with the implements that Jason and Jim are talking about. And we'll talk about loaders in a little bit, but loaders are required to operate a lot of the attachments that allow you to be efficient and effective in your hay and forage operation. And matching up the right size tractor, the right size loader is very important. Then also, obviously, as we've said many times before, it's worth reiterating, matching up the right size tractor with the right size baler, moco, tedder, whatever you're going to use, very important.
Gotcha. And tell me a little bit about your scrapers. Clearly, more and more cattlemen are using scrapers to do some corral work and some corral cleaning, in addition to all the stuff that we do just around the yard and so forth. What did you have to offer there?
Well, we have several different models. We just introduced this past summer the new LL12 series, which is called an ag scraper, and it fits perfectly for cleaning out those pins and runways, keeping the driveway nice and level so the wife's happy when she comes home. Or if you have an erosion problem, you know, keep that field nice and level, keep that down. And if you keep those field roads, as most of us call them, nice and smooth, transporting this equipment from the field back to the house, it's less wear and tear on the equipment. And we have great parts and service with Deere, but we don't want you to have to use it just because you have rough ground.
That makes a lot of sense. Jim, you know, I know you like to sell us some forage equipment, but there's a lot of us that like to have our cows be those forage harvesters out on pasture. And one thing that always troubles us is the weeds that grow, especially on a year like this. They've had plenty of moisture to grow. What do you have in terms of weed control equipment?
You're absolutely right. We can't train that cow to do the whole field. She's pretty picky. She'll leave some weeds here and there, or some of the brush, small trees that start to, you know, volunteer to come in. And a lot of these pasture fields are also hay fields, 1 or 2 cuttings a year occasionally. So we want to keep the noxious weeds under control. We want to keep those invasive growths to come in. So we could use that disc mower. We could use that Moco. But maybe the amount of land you have to cover, and you might have enough other jobs, a rotary cutter, you know, the big bladed twin blades.
Yep.
We could have those up to 20 feet.
Wow.
And you could use that even maybe to prep your corn stalks prior to round baling them.
Sure.
You know, it's going to thrash them up and soften them up so it makes it make a better bale.
Gotcha.
So you got that kind of application.
Jason, you have a number of other pieces of equipment. I know my girls are kind of barrel racers and stuff. You've got everything from arena rakes to lots of other attachments. Do you want to spend just a minute talking about what Frontier has to offer there?
Well, you brought up the arena rake, so that's a good one to start. For those horse lovers and the equine people, we have the arena rakes. They're called the Riata rake.
Okay.
Definitely a premier rake for that. Most people love them. A lot of national shows are using them, so that's a great thing. A very, very nice tool. But talking about pasture management, you know, a lot of people no-till in seed in the fall for winter pasture and stuff. We have a no-till drill.
Okay.
We also have the end-wheel drill that most people are more familiar with.
Sure.
You know, a lot of more small ag-related tillage tools if you do want to work some ground. A lot of great options out there for those producers to try to get exactly what they need for those animals and be efficient while they do it.
Absolutely. Well, what's very, very clear is John Deere is about more than just row crops here, and I appreciate your perspective.